Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I'm a bit late, but on the corridors, I met somebody that I had no choice but to stop and greet and exchange some pleasantries with. So I had no choice. So sorry about that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we are ready to start. We can get started. Our first witness is you, Mr. Magwaza, and they will assist you into taking an oath or making an affirmation.
Please state your full name for the record.
Thokozani Magwaza.
Thokozani Magwaza.
Yes.
Would you prefer to swear or affirm the oath?
Swear.
Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Ladies and gentlemen, some of you might have observed that since Tuesday I've been coughing and coughing and coughing. And some people say it's the aircon. But whatever the cause is, I've really been having some problems. And therefore, I am not so sure whether I'll be able to take more than 2 witnesses. But a lot would also depend on how far we go with Mr. Magwaza. I'll give some indication at the end of his testimony. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Magwaza. Or rather, Mr. Solomon.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, before I start to lead the evidence, I just wanted to set out the topics that Mr. Magwaza will deal with. In line with your directions, we will confine ourselves largely to his affidavit, but go slightly outside his affidavit to deal with some documents that we have been hearing testimony about that are contained in the various bundles. So I've proposed first to just deal with his appointment initially as the acting Director General in the Department of Social Development, and commencement of that and termination of his employment by mutual consent in 2017, and then deal with the establishment of the work streams, which is dealt with in his affidavit, and then deal with the commencement of his employment as the CEO of SASSA, deal with the minutes of various meetings and other documents that are of interest to him, and then to move on to the meeting that took place around the 10th to 12th of December, which is dealt with in his affidavit, and finally his involvement in the SASSA application and the withdrawal of that application, or the attempt to withdraw that application, which is also dealt with in his affidavit. If that's in order, then Mr. Magwaza, just for formality's sake, do you have a copy of your affidavit that is dated the 7th of April 2017, that was filed in the Constitutional Court, and I think it's at page 699 of the Black Sash bundle. Is that right? It's a Black Sash.
I do.
Do you confirm that this is your affidavit, and do you confirm the contents and the correctness of the contents of that affidavit?
I do.
Now, with your leave, Judge, I'm going to lead the witness on the commencement and his involvement with the department and thereafter SASSA. So I think that is largely common cause. You were appointed in October 2013 as the Deputy Director General of the department, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And you retained that position until March 2015, when you were promoted and became the Acting Director General of the Department of... Is that correct?
I'm not sure about the promotion, but it's correct. And I became an acting director general in 2015.
Well, perhaps you've been overly modest, but we'll accept that. And then you were appointed by Cabinet in June 2016 as the CEO of SASSA, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
But the Minister only gave effect to your appointment, as was her prerogative, with effect from 3 November 2016, is that correct?
It is true.
And you remained in that position until your employment was mutually terminated. When was that? Was that the 17th of July 2017?
Yes, it is.
Now, could you tell the inquiry what were the areas of responsibility that impacted upon your employment as the Deputy Director General? I may call it the DDG interchangeably, just for convenience. If you could tell the inquiry what were the areas of your responsibility and how the structure of the department worked, and in particular where SASSA featured in regard to the area and scope of your responsibility.
I was appointed as a Director General of Comprehensive Social Security, the Division of Social Development, residing outside the building where everybody is housed. We were in Brooklyn. The responsibilities of that unit is, first, there are two main ones. It's the social insurance reforms, and it was a social assistance program. SASSA falls under the social assistance program. That division is responsible for the policy writing on the policy shaping of SASSA, and that is the main thing. But there were other funds that we're looking after, like disaster fund and all these other funds, that small funds that were President's Fund that were responsible for the. But the main one was social insurance, responsible for the reforms of the social security in the country. We're working together with National Treasury, Department of Transport, Department of Labor, and Department of Health in shaping. That is still on and is still carrying on.
Now, we know that the SASSA Act deals with how the grants are to be paid. This was obviously an operational responsibility. Did that fall within the purview of SASSA?
Yeah, there are two lines. SASSA is an agency of the department. Their sole responsibility is to disperse grants. As I've already mentioned on the issue of social security, comprehensive social security is on the side of legislative and the policy making. There are two lines. The minister, the CEO of SASSA on operational matters reports directly to the minister and is accountable to the minister. Whereas the DDG, responsible for social security, reports to the Director General, and the Director General is accountable to the minister.
Who was responsible to write the policies? Was it the department or SASSA?
No, it's the department that writes the policy.
And who was responsible to implement the policy?
It's SASSA that implements the policy.
Was there a clear dichotomy between SASSA and the DSD?
No, there are clear lines. I mean, as I've just mentioned, the SASSA CEO reports directly to the minister, not via the DG, not via the DDG.
The payments of grants, was that an operational issue or a policy?
It is disbursement. It is the operational issue.
Now, during the time that you were in your capacity as the Deputy Director General, what was the extent of your involvement with SASSA? So that's the first phase of your involvement in the department, which starts the end of 2013 until March 2015, when you became the Acting Director General.
It was solely on the policy side until the minister decided to establish the ministerial task team on deductions. I was asked to be part and parcel of it. Initially, it was Mr. Zentang who was co-chairing that with Ms. Lynette from Black Sash. Later, because Mr. Dang was a special advisor, I was more closely to the minister, traveling with the minister. Then I became a co-chair of that. That's how I got involved.
And were you, in your capacity as the Deputy Director General, involved at all in the insourcing of the grant payments and that migration from CPS?
No, I was not involved in that.
When you became the Acting Director General in March 2015, what impact did that have on the scope of your authority and your, in particular in regard to your involvement, if at all, with SASSA?
The same thing that was happening on the duties of the DDG, it goes over to the Director General, because I was accountable to the Director General. So the duties are more or less the same. It's only that the Director General has got more on his plate than the DDG of the department.
This Chinese wall between SASSA and the DSD, did that then pertain in the second phase of your employment from March 2015?
CEO is still accountable to the minister direct. Unless the minister invites a person into the meeting that takes place. If he's not invited, he cannot go and sit on the EXCO. He doesn't sit on any committee that takes place within SASSA. Then,
if we look at your appointment by Cabinet in June 2016, until the Minister appointed you, what was your status for that period from March till November? From June 2016 to November 2016?
I was still an Acting Director General until I was confirmed by the Minister as a CEO.
And during that period, were you involved in the migration process from outsourcing to insourcing that was taking place at SASSA?
No, I was still not involved. The only time that I was roped in, one time the CEO invited me to sit on a technical committee that was looking at the specifications of the new tender, emanating from the instruction from the order from the court. I was involved in that. Thereafter, I was appointed as that was in 2014. In 2015, I was appointed by the CEO again to sit as a chairperson of the BAC, Bid Adjudication Committee on that tender.
Well, that would be the first phase of your employment. That would be the phase when you were the Deputy Director General, because I think the RFQ or RFP, that process was in 2014 after the Constitutional Court directive sometime in the early first quarter of 2014.
Yeah, on the spec it was 2014. On the BAC, I think it's 2015.
Was that your only involvement?
That's the involvement that I was.
And we know that that bid process was considered abortive. The bids were considered to be non-responsive. Is that correct?
As on the BAC, there's not much that we did, except that the evaluation committee chairperson, Themba Matlau, came and reported what has taken place. So we considered that. Then we folded the adjudication because there was nothing to do. They couldn't move from the technical level to the adjudication portion.
Then we have really the fourth phase, which is from the end of October until the 17th of July 2017, when your employment was mutually terminated. And we'll go into that a bit later in greater detail when we look at the minutes, particularly the minutes of the 24th of October 2016 meeting. But I just wanted to take you to a letter which presumably ultimately led to the termination of your employment, which is at page 982 of the SASSA bundle. We put that letter to the Minister yesterday. Do you recall? It's a letter dated the 4th of April 2017, which you addressed to the Minister.
Yes, I do recall.
Now, do you have it, Judge? It's in the black sash bundle at page 982. I'm sorry, Judge. Does Judge have it? Do you have it, Mr. Magwaza?
I do.
I'm going to return to this letter when we deal with the work streams, but I wanted you to just focus on your... Are you familiar with the letter? I mean, I don't have to read. You wrote the letter, so you're familiar with it. There was some suggestion that it was incorrectly dated, and the Minister had some problem with the fact that March was crossed out and April inserted. Could you shed some light on that?
I do not know what happened with the typo from my PA, but when I was signing the letter, I had to change the date.
And was the letter done contemporaneously with the time that it was sent out and the date on it?
It was done around the 2nd, 3rd, because I prepared the letter and take it to my head of legal to check the legality of it. Then she changed certain things on it, and it went to my PA, and it came to me, and I signed it at that time. Maybe 2 or 3 or 4 days around it.
Now, when one looks at the letter, you seem to be at odds with the Minister on... This is obviously at a time when you were the CEO of SASSA. This is the 4th phase. You seem to be at odds with the Minister on what the areas of responsibility that you had and what the Minister considered your role to be. Could you just elaborate on that? How did the minister view her role or her oversight role in respect of the SASSA Act? We've also heard her evidence, so you can draw from her evidence in answering that question.
It's a difficult issue because the minister, I think, felt that she was responsible for the running of SASSA. Maybe her interpretation of what SASSA Act says would maybe made her to believe that she's the one that is running SASSA. As a person that has been a seasoned CEO, it was not the first time that I was a CEO at SASSA. I've been a coup at GPF. I was a CEO, acting CEO at Road Accident Fund. I had a board at GPF. We were reporting to the Minister of Finance, Walter Trevor Manuel at the time. And Road Accident Fund had a board. And then I became a CEO of SCHAV. I had a board. I know that the board, they've got fiduciary duty to look after the organization, which I thought the minister would be the same with the minister. I know that the issue of concurrence, which I never doubted once in my tenure there. The only problem that I had when the minister will come and start getting into the things that are taking place inside the organization and run it as if it's her own, I don't want to sound negative, but it's her own shop. But and it start disturbing the smooth running of the organization. I know that I came at the time of crisis, and it's granted. Though I would have thought that I would have gone in on the 9th, 10th, or the 11th, or the 12th of June, things might have been different. But when I got in there, it was, I think, a little bit late, and there was a 1st of April. Now,
1st of November?
Yeah.
You said April?
No, I said there was an issue of 1st of April.
Oh, sorry.
The issue of 1st of April is the famous date of paying of grants, switching over from CPS over to SASSA. So there were things that the minister would do, would just pitch up in the office without saying to me that she's coming. The protocol, I would think that the minister would say to me, Mr. Magwaza, I'll be coming to your office and I need you to be there. And I think the minister did mention that she met with Zane and Sipo and some executives at the office. But I was not there because I had meetings outside. And the minute I hear from the PA, I said, do you know that the boss is coming today? I mean, the boss is here. I said, she never told me that she's coming. Then I was in the middle of the meeting, and I was in Johannesburg, and they were in Pretoria. So I couldn't attend the meeting, not because I was defiant to the minister, and she knows that I could not be defiant to her. I've been with her since 2013, and I've been traveling with her more than anyone in the department. In events that she goes to, some political things that she went to, I've been with her. So she wouldn't think that I was defying her. So this letter was meant to ask the minister, because we're in crisis. We wanted to run the organization. We wanted to make it a point that when 1st of April comes, we'll be able to do certain things. There was an issue of Ms. Mvulane, which is known. She wrote a statement and she did infirm certain things on how I felt about it. Yes, of course, I did feel that she's supposed to be reporting to the CEO, not to the minister. And I did talk to her about it, and not on the side. During the EXCO meetings, where I said, Ms. Mvulane, don't forget that you are supposed to be working with us, not working outside the perimeters of the department. So those gripes, I do mention them there on the issues of the processes that we're running this site while we're doing something. The issue of parallel process, again, was the issue of that there is an EXCO that is responsible for the day-to-day running of the organization. That is EXCO, led by the CEO.
We'll get to the parallel processes. I just wanted to ask you, you also sought to emphasize that you were the accounting officer and the accounting authority and officer of SASSA. What point were you seeking to make by pointing that out in the letter?
There is a SASSA Act which the minister was using for doing what she was doing, and we have PFMA that we're supposed to be using as accounting officers. And when it comes to financial issues of the organization, which mostly the things that were happening going towards the issue of switching over from CPS, it was going to be a transactional process. So I felt that some of those things we needed to be dealt with inside. Then we go to the minister for concurrence. My take that concurrence is that it's not that the minister will tell us what to do. We will sit down, we'll deliberate, and then we'll write a memo and we'll write it to the minister for her to concur. That's what had happened. I did it in December, like she mentioned on that one, on that issue about the technical team when we were going to National Treasury and Reserve Bank. But she never signed a single one of those concurrence, not a single one she signed.
So you considered it your responsibility to ensure that SASSA delivered on its mandate. That's what you say in the letter. Is that correct? As the accounting and authority and officer.
I would say, on my part, I did everything that was supposed to be done at the time that I came in. From the time I moved in, and the meetings that I had with my staff, the meetings I had with the people outside the department, but within the government space, which I'm not too sure whether we're going to be able to discuss that later. But those things, I did everything that was supposed to be done, and the minister was aware of those things.
And did she have a different sense of areas of responsibility that you seem to complain about in your letter?
She never had a problem much when we were talking all the time. Those what I called our usual meetings. The only time that she complained was the issue of the affidavit. That's where the issue of real complaints about the way that I was running the organization, that she didn't feel good about. But we discussed it because we had meetings, and those meetings we speak about on my affidavit. I think Zain did mention it on his.
Yes, we'll come to that. She says from the time that you were appointed, you were a disruptive force within SASSA.
No, Judge, maybe my learned colleague wants to rephrase that question.
I don't mind rephrasing it. She seemed to convey the impression that you were a negative. He doesn't like that either. Perhaps, do you recall her evidence?
Yeah, let me refer to her evidence through you, Judge. The minister said that the previous CEOs...
Sorry, and you must refer to evidence only and only in relation to that issue.
Yeah.
And keep yourself to answering questions as they come.
Okay.
And not going beyond the needs
Thanks,
of
Judge.
a particular question.
Thanks, Judge.
Right.
She did say that when I arrived, before I arrived, she had a different relationship, or the way she was doing things was different from the previous CEOs. But when I arrived, things were different. And I'm not sure that will be true, because I was with the minister more than any one of the people in the department. I was traveling with the minister all over. And that I found it very strange when she said that.
Right. Now, we'll return to this later in the context of the parallel processes. If we could then deal with the work streams and your affidavit. If you would go to your affidavit, page 701, paragraph 11. Does Judge have it? It's the black sash bundle, I believe. Page 701. I see judges with us. Do you have it, Mr. Magwaza?
I do.
Now, paragraph 11, would you just read the first two sentences of paragraph 11?
These work streams were given a broad mandate to take over the implementation of the project, and SASSA was instructed not to interrupt them or delay them.
And the next sentence?
The work streams reported directly to the minister and not SASSA.
Now, the first sentence, that SASSA was instructed not to interrupt them or delay them, would you indicate in relation to your statement, to your affidavit, and to your knowledge, when was that instruction given? And I could assist you by referring you to your affidavit, but could you, I'll give you the paragraph, but could you just elaborate upon that? That instruction not to interrupt them or delay them.
The reasons why I said what I've said on my affidavit, in the meeting that we had on the 24th, I was invited, by the way, just before I came into SASSA on the 3rd of November. I was invited to attend the EXCO meeting where the work streams were going to report for the first time to the EXCO on the 24th of October, if I'm not mistaken. It was in Pulugwane, and we had the Golden Games that we're doing as a department, which I was responsible for as a DG. I discovered there that there were complaints. In fact, this is what happened in that meeting.
Well, sorry, if you could I just direct you to the minutes of that meeting and be of assistance when you give your evidence. It's in the SASSA bundle at page 203 and following. Do you have it, Judge? Do you have it, Mr. Magwaza?
I'm still waiting.
So perhaps in answer...
Yes, I've got it now.
It's really from page 206 to perhaps 209, and then again at 211 and 214. But let's just start with 206, and perhaps you can just reference what you're referring to from the minutes in answering the question.
I'm referring to the second paragraph of the second column on discussion on SASSA readiness on takeover of payment, where the EXCO members were of the view that there was a gap between the workstream leaders and SASSA, as they were not fully involved in the process. That's when I discovered that SASSA executives said in the meeting, they were meeting the work streams in October for the first time. Now, the minister, I think, did say it yesterday or the day before yesterday about the issues that they asked for 2 months to deal with the due diligence and all those kind of things. But what I said in the meeting at that time, I said to the work streams, I said, it would have been prudent for them, before they could start anything within SASSA, to have consulted with the the work stream. I mean, with the EXCO, because EXCO is an ultimate governance body that is running the day-to-day running of the organization, and they apologized and then said that it was an oversight because they thought they were reporting somewhere else. Then that was the issue, which was proven on one of the slides that they've put in on the cabinet, that they were reporting directly to the minister. That we fixed, and the minister did say we fixed it at that time. When I said that structure that you have put on there, that structure I think is wrong, because the people that were responsible or they were directly reporting to the minister were the Ministerial Advisory Committee, and they recommended that there must be work streams. And work streams were born. They were supposed to help SASSA to implement, not to report directly to the minister, as the minister was saying that they were supposed to have done that. So based on that, I was saying that this was an issue that was taking place, and it still carried on taking place even after. Sorry, Judge. Even after we have already spoken about it, because Ms. Mvulane will still talk to them on the side. They have meetings with the minister on the side without us being involved, especially me, that I was not involved in those meetings that were taking place outside. That was the reason why I was saying that this is what was taking place.
Was your concern that this would give rise to parallel processes and parallel reporting?
Yeah, it ended up on the issues of parallel processes. It came clear with the issue of affidavit.
And then the minutes say, you indicated it was important that the work stream should work with the branches as they were accountable to the agency and not to the minister. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were supposed to have worked with the branches, but initially they were not there, because if the CIO was responsible for the IT and all the things that were supposed to take place were the processes or the system that we were supposed to have got in, it would be based on an IT platform. And I asked the CIO, why are you not involved? She said on that meeting, Ms. Mvulane has been dealing with the issue of the work streams, not him. And he only got to talk to them a week before the 24th. So it was clear that the things were carrying on this other side and things were carrying on with this other side.
Was this creating a disruption in the lines of authority and reporting?
No, it is. It was impacting on our day-to-day running of the organization.
Now, the minute further goes on to say, if you could just read from, he indicated, that's you, that he was not aware. If you could just read that sentence for the record. And just confirm that where you were reading from, page 206 of the minute,
yeah.
It's the paragraph that starts with EXCO members were of the view. It's about the third or fourth sentence.
Yes, he indicated that he was not aware of what was going on at SASSA and all things, despite the fact that he was appointed on the 1st of June 2016. The minister requested that he should stay as an acting DG until the appointment of the DG at DST. Yes, I was not aware. That's the first time I got to know about it on that meeting. And I put it on to them, because it's them that were running the organization, that have never spoke to me.
And then read the next sentence. From this
restricted his input on any SASSA matters, and therefore he could not speak on behalf of SASSA. The ADG urged EXCO to take charge and control of the situation.
Who was the ADG?
It's me, who was an acting director general.
So at that stage, you were still the acting director general, but you were about to be appointed in a few days' time.
I was already appointed, or maybe I was about to be confirmed and move over. The appointment was already done because the cabinet had already approved my appointment.
But the minister hadn't signed off on it?
They had not given me the letter.
So that stage, was that the first meeting that you had been, EXCO meeting that you'd been invited to at SASSA?
Yeah, this was the first meeting that I was invited in when I was in DG. There was one meeting where we were invited. It was in Emperor's Palace. Virginia wanted us to see on the work things they were doing on work packages. I think it's early 2014.
Who's Virginia? Is that Peterson?
Virginia Peterson, the former, or I can't say former CEO, the CEO that I replaced at
But during
SASSA.
the third phase, as we've styled it, between June 2016 and this meeting in October 24, had you attended any other EXCO meetings?
No, this was the first meeting, and I'll say the last meeting because I was appointed on the 1st of November.
Then Mr. Mashlangu raised his concerns. Was he the ICT, was he in charge of the ICT process?
Yeah, he's in charge of the technology unit
And what was the unhappiness that he raised at the meeting?
I think maybe I jumped the gun when I said that he complained that he was not involved, he was not being consulted, and he didn't feel comfortable with it because I'd already raised the issue that he was responsible for the ICT. He's supposed to have been involved.
Then, over the page, would you read what you stated in that paragraph?
Mr. Magwaza indicated that it will be an ideal for EXCO to be involved in the institutionalization of payment processes in order to own up to whatever report that was generated from the process.
Just pause there. What were you intending to convey there?
I was conveying the issue that work streams are supposed to be helping the EXCO to come up with the plan on how the takeover was going to be. And whatever report that is generated, it must not be the report of the work stream, but it must be the report that it's SASSA report. SASSA is supposed to deliberate and adopt the report and own the report, then implement the report.
Then the next sentence, if you'd read that.
He wanted the executive members and regional executive members to take joint responsibility of the situation at hand.
What was your view in that regard?
The view in this regard is that they kept on harping on the issue that Zodwa is the only person that knows what is taking place, and they are not involved. And I said, but the onus is on them to make it a point that they're supposed to get themselves involved into the issue. But then they came back and said, look, we cannot be able to impose ourselves on this when we're not being told about meetings and we're not invited in anything. Zodwa says that the minister is the one that is responsible for this. The minister will invite whoever that they want to invite into the meetings.
So was your impression that the EXCO members felt marginalized in this process?
It was a common cause that they were marginalized because they said it openly in the meetings.
Then, if you would continue to read the ADG.
The ADG indicated that EXCO must understand their roles and responsibility in the process so that he would not be put to blame. He would not put the blame on the former CEO, Dr. Virginia Peterson, no, project manager, Ms. Mvulani members. Members should not say they were not given any information.
Then the next paragraph.
Mr. Magwaza made it clear that he did not want people to point fingers at executives because of their omission, let alone what the executives might say to the minister. He reiterated that everything that SASSA was doing must be done legally and the minister should be protected.
Then Mr. Matlau inquired, who was he? What was his position?
Mr. Matlau is the regional executive manager in Gauteng, the region.
Then, if you would just go to page 208, there was then some presentation by members of the work stream. We see at 209 that Mr. Metcalf presented on behalf of business information and the banking work stream. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then if we would go to page 211, the third last paragraph, would you just read that and explain what that was about?
Workstream governance and reporting. The pie chart indicated a solid line to the minister, while reporting to SASSA Exco would be through the steering committee. When Mr. Metcalf was presenting, I think it was slide 14, because I'll never forget it, because I refer to it all the time. On that slide, it showed that from the minister, it was the work stream. Then on the side, then it was CEO and Exco. That was solid, and there was no line that was going through to Exco. But Exco would only get involved onto what is taking place through a steering committee, not through the Exco.
So there was yet another layer between the work streams and the Exco.
Yeah, there was a less steering
committee. There would have to be a
committee.
steering committee.
Yeah, the steering committee that was written there. That, in fact, this was a proposal that they were putting. That, and I said they need to correct it as early as possible.
And then if you'd go just finally to page 214, the third paragraph, Mr. Magwaza. If you just read that, and that.
Mr. Magwaza raised a serious concern around governance structure. He believed the reporting line should be to Exco, not to the minister, which then imply a solid line should be to the SASSA Exco. He felt that Exco had been bypassed in the planning phases of the project and requested that the work streams to support and work with Exco. It was Exco's job to protect the minister. He recommended to the team on the work. He commended the team on the work done to date, but was disappointed with the lack of collaboration with Exco.
What were you dealing with there?
I think I've already explained on the issue that my thinking was that before they would do anything within the SASSA environment, they would have first consulted with the Exco. They would have come in and say to Exco, we have been appointed as the project, whatever they call themselves, project leaders or work streams, and these are the things that we envisage that we'll be doing. And do say to them, to the Exco, that we have requested the 2 months for the due diligence. Now, the minister kept on talking about that they asked for that, but they didn't ask it from Exco. So Exco was not involved on that. The only time that they got involved is when they came with the preliminary report on the 24th of October.
And we'll deal with what happened after the meeting. The minister states that these concerns that were raised were then resolved thereafter. Would you comment on that? And in particular, we could return to your letter at page 982 that we had out earlier on, your letter of the 4th of April 2017, and in particular answer the question by reference to what you had said in paragraph 6 of that letter.
The issue of workstream carrying on working the way that they were working before. In fact, the workstream carried on working with the way that they were working before they came to present to Exco. In this way, that they were still working with Zodwa Mvulane, and Zodwa Mvulane was working with the minister. And I think the minister confirms that on her evidence, on saying that she was meeting with Zodwa on numerous occasions. And the minister was not meeting with the Exco. And she said she had a meeting with the Exco, not at the time that I was there, except one meeting, which was a normal Exco meeting. It was on the 20th of February in Emperor's Palace. driving there, I get a phone call from my PA, said that there is state security in the building, and they were cordoning everything, they were taking cell phones and everything. And I asked, why is that? Because the EXCO meetings are not secret. We don't have secrets in the discussion. Then they said that they will be told that the minister is coming. I said, but the minister didn't tell me that he was coming to that meeting. So we got into that meeting with a normal EXCO, and as a CEO, I'm a de facto chair of the EXCO. So then I say to when we start with the program, I said, Minister, since we are here, though you didn't advise me that you're coming to the meeting, is there anything that you'd like to share with the folks, meaning the team, with the EXCO? She said, no, I'm not going to say anything until Ms. Mvulane gives her presentation. I said, oh, okay. So, okay, then I said, that let's not waste time then, because if the minister is going to talk after Mvulane, let's defer anything, let's not read the minutes, let's not confirm the minutes and do all those things, and go straight to the reading of the presentation by Ms. Mvulane. And then Ms. Mvulane presented. The hell broke loose after Ms. Mvulane had presented. Minister started saying so many things to us, me being pivotal onto what she was saying that I did not like the work stream. I'm not giving the work stream a chance to do their job, and pointed some people within and said to the CIO, you CIO, you are not doing your job. Start doing your job. Stop concentrating on the work stream. Do your job. You're supposed to be doing so many things that we are not doing anything. Then she goes further, the minister, and say, Mr. Magwaza, concentrate on the day-to-day running of the organization. Stop bothering or hindering the work streams. Work streams were appointed by me, and they report to me, and you do not have to do anything about it. So that onto me. Oh, then the minister, when she first finished saying that, she stood up and left, and I raised it, I said, Minister, please, I think we need to sit down. We need to talk about this. We cannot come to the meeting, which is a normal meeting, EXCO meeting. You say the things that you say, and we don't get a chance of countering them or responding to them. She left, she got out. And I stood up, and I walked outside. And I went to her, I said, Minister, but it's unfair of you to do what you've just done. You are vilifying and belittling me in front of my staff members. And I don't think this is the right thing to do. I think we need to go back there and let's discuss the issue. She didn't say a word. The protectors stood up. They stood up, they ganged around her as if I was attacking her. Then I turned to Mam Kwena, who was the PA. I said, Mam Kwena, please arrange the meeting with the minister and the advisors and the DG so that we can discuss this issue. It cannot be left the way that it's left like this. And in that meeting then, and I went back to the EXCO. I said, this meeting is adjourned because what we came here to do, we could not do it. You heard what the minister said. We cannot carry on before we can sort that issue with the minister, right? Then we adjourned and we left onto that. Then the rest is what happened with Zain on the meetings that took place and Siposhes.
You deal with that meeting in paragraph 12 of your statement. We just looked at paragraph, of your affidavit rather, we looked at paragraph 11, and then that is dealt with in paragraph 12.
Yes.
Just to ask you to read out paragraph 6 of your letter at page 983 of the 4th of April.
Can I read it?
Please do.
It is important that the minister provides me with the opportunity to lead and manage SASSA in a manner that will allow me to take full responsibility and accountability for the commissions and omissions of SASSA. This opportunity will include the work streams as a matter of agency, providing reports that relate to the expected deliverables of each work stream as per their respective terms of reference or service level agreement. 6.2, maintaining the status of the workstream leaders as consultants, that is, independent contractors and not involved in the day-to-day running of SASSA. The workstreams and the project manager reporting to and taking instructions from the CEO. The work streams not to recommend and implement their recommendations to avoid perceptions of conflict of interest. SASSA implement the court order, delineation of administrative and an executive authority.
Now, at this point in time, was that state of affairs still obtaining within SASSA, the time that you wrote this letter?
Yeah, it was worse than when I arrived.
And in paragraph 10 at page 984, you reached out to the minister, and you said, in the unexpected event that we are not in a position to agree that as the accounting offer, the overall strategic and operational administration of SASSA is bestowed on me in terms of the P&A, and I should be allowed to lead and manage SASSA, you said you'd then regard that as a dispute. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Now, if we could just continue with we're still dealing with the work streams and the parallel process. You wanted to, earlier on, refer to the parallel process that you saw and that you identified in the letter. Have we sufficiently dealt with it? Because I interrupted you earlier on at the commencement when we first looked at this letter, and I told you we'd come back to the parallel process. You satisfied that? Is there anything else you want to draw to the...
I am not too sure that the judge will allow me, because it's not on my affidavit, on the issues that have taken place that were proving that there was parallel process. If the judge allows me to elaborate, which I would like to elaborate on, I would be happy.
You may proceed.
Can I carry on?
Would that be in order, Judge?
Okay, all right. Thank you, Judge. There are few of the occasions. One occasion is on the issue where the minister, we are writing the report to Constitutional Court. And the minister made mention of the IMC yesterday. Minister calls the meeting to her house, and I was invited on that meeting. I think I was invited because I'm supposed to be signing the report going to Constitutional Court. When we were there, the workstream people were there. I think Dr. Makasela was there too, himself, and some few other executives. I think Rapakhe was there, Ms. Ramkhupa. And they went through the report that they would like to be presented to the IMC. Then Dr. Makasela says to the minister, then it was agreed that minister says that they need to go and present this presentation to the IMC. Dr. Makasela, in his own words, said, Minister, I don't think it will be a good thing for the work streams to present this to the IMC. I would have thought that they would present it to the EXCO, then EXCO is the one that is going to, or the CEO is the one that is going to present it to the IMC. Because if they go and present this, it will be seen as a parallel process. I'm quoting him verbatim. It will be seen to be a parallel process. This is one thing that happened. So the presentation did happen because the minister shook her head. She wanted them to present. They went to present to the IMC. Thereafter, IMC, as minister I think is putting it, says that the IMC adopted the presentation. Yes, of course, the IMC adopted, not adopted, they agreed with the presentation. Then thereafter, we're supposed to finalize the report to Constitutional Court. When that happened, minister was going to Italy. So I was supposed to write an affidavit because we instructed in the court order that the report must be on an affidavit type of a report. So I'm supposed to be signing that. The minister is supposed to sign the confirmatory affidavit. And we met at the VIP lounge for the state security at the airport international side. We sat there because it was late going around after 7, and so that we finalized both our affidavit. We agreed everything was fine. We signed. We're going to send on the report to Concord. When we were in IMC, all the things that the IMC felt that were important need to be put on the report. I was sitting next to Raphahle and sitting next to Zodwa, and I said to them, I think you hear what the IMC is saying. I would like you to put those points that they say, extract them from the report and you put them onto the report. There, everything was fine. They said they were going to do that. During the day, the following day, before we were supposed to send the report, I get to know, I'm phoned by Raphahle. Raphahle says that he has just got an instruction that she must attach the PowerPoint presentation to the report. That is affidavit that I sign. I said, no, you can't do that. I cannot send to Concord a presentation on the PowerPoint. And secondly, it cannot be that we send the report to Concord, because that needs to go back to EXCO. EXCO has got to deliberate on the issues. Then EXCO has got to adopt the presentation and the report that they were supposed to have given the report, not the presentation, the report which they had not given at the time, and adopt that. Once it is adopted, then it will be the document that belongs to SASSA. Then we are going to present the report to Concord, the following report that we are going to do. Minister is already in Italy at that time. 20 minutes after I've said that to Raphahle, I get an SMS, which was not sent to me direct, was sent to everybody, because it says, dear colleagues. And that dear colleague SMS, it says, colleagues, the minister has instructed that the presentation of the workstream must be attached to the report, because it was adopted by the IMC. And I said, and then I answered, I said, no, I think it's not correct what you are saying. It's a presentation that was adopted. It's not the report. We are sending the report to Constitutional Court. It cannot be the presentation that is sent to Constitutional Court. But since you say it's an instruction from the minister and you are the chief of staff, then I'm obliged to tell my guys to include it onto this, though it's against my wish to do that. And I'm warning you, that's another point that is going to be seen as a parallel process. Because this report, this presentation is going to be attached on Magwaza's report, but it will be flying underneath Magwaza's report. There is no reference on it, on the affidavit that Magwaza has written. That is one of the issue of the parallel process. Oh no, that's the second one. The first one was the one that Makasela said in the meeting and said it will be seen as a parallel process. The second one is when the minister say, the chief of staff said the minister is instructed. The minister comes back from Italy, and I said to her, Ma, as I used to call her Ma, I said, Ma, you have instructed that this must be put onto the report. And I'm just want to say to you, we are trying to work against the issue of parallel process. But on the other side, we are pushing for parallel process. Everybody sees that is a parallel process. And I left it at that on this. The other part that makes me feel that this issue of parallel process is the issue of the meeting. I'm not sure whether we're still going to go through on the issue of the affidavits that were sent to Parliament.
Yes, no, we will. That's at paragraph 32. Some of it you've touched on now, 32 and following of your affidavit. But there is overlapping, so I understand it's hard to keep them into discrete categories. Let's just continue. You have dealt with paragraph 12 of your affidavit. Would you read paragraph 13 and just elaborate on that of your affidavit?
I need to make the point that since July 2015, the minister understood the issues, was in control of the process, and knew or ought to have known of all developments in the important processes and matter.
Would you elaborate upon that?
I was referring to the issue because I did attach the letter of I think July 2015, and the fact that Minister, even yesterday she even confirmed it herself, that she was meeting with Rotom Vulane and the CEO, former CEO, frequently. So there is no way that they would have not told her of what was taking place.
Then paragraph 15 of your affidavit, you don't need to read it, but you say that, when I say read it for yourself, you don't have to read it out. You say that SASSA genuinely believed the plan was ambitious, but nevertheless worked towards meeting such deliverables. SASSA commenced the process to implement the plan to achieve the deliverables as previously undertaken to the court. This process was derailed once the minister directed SASSA to appoint the work streams in accordance with her directive. What do you mean by that the process was derailed?
Remember, I did mention the meeting that we invited one time to EXCO, sometimes in 2014, where the work packages were being discussed. There were about 12 of them. They were split amongst the executives. Every work package had a leader. It was like a Bible to Virginia, I must say this. It was like a Bible to her, something that she held so closely and dearly onto herself, meaning that she was going to, they're saying that this is what is going to make new SASSA at the time. That is just after the Concord declared the contract, CPS contract, invalid.
How did the work packages differ from the work stream process that was ultimately implemented through the minister?
I wouldn't be in a position to say the difference, but it's only that when I start reading things going forward, is that they say that Workstream tried to take some of the things and collaborate it onto their report. There's a report that is attached, I think, on the SASSA file at the end, or the minister's file, where the work packages are there, but they are no longer 12, but there were 12 initially.
It's all right, continues. I interrupted you.
So then when the issue of work streams started, how I got to know about the work streams at the time when that was happening is that the minister did invite me into a meeting with I would think it was the members of the Ministerial Advisory Committee. Though it was two of them. It was two of them that came. It was Andile Nyonya and it was Tim Sugas. We were in her house. Andile was reading on the presentation on the things that they are going to put on the report. We're going to present to the minister. And at that time, then the issue of workstream came into being. I started seeing it at that level from the ministerial task team, though it was not all the members. And I must say that I was meeting Andy Lenyonya for the first time that day on the minister's house, and I never knew him to be part of the advisory committee. But the minister would change anybody at any time, and then Andy Lenyonya maybe was the member of the advisory committee. Thereafter, Virginia comes to me, and Virginia says to me, Mr. Magwaza, you are the only person that can be able to make sense to the minister all the time. Minister does listen to you. Can you talk to the minister about the issues of work packages? Minister has just come into the meeting and called me into her house and said to me, Virginia, these work packages are working against what I want to see happening within SASSA. It would have been nice if Virginia was here too as a witness, but so be it that she's not here. Then she said that. Then I said, I cannot be able to do that and go to the minister and say to the minister, the issue of the work packages or work streams or not. But the only thing that I can advise you is that if the minister instructs you and say to you, this is what I want, because she must put it in writing, then she will take the accountability away from you, and she's going to take that accountability and it becomes hers. And it's a known fact that minister did exactly that. If you look, there's a letter, I'm not too sure which page it is, there's a letter, a submission that Virginia wrote on the issues about the work stream. Where she speaks about the issue of the project management company. She said, if the minister wants the work stream to come in, because the minister has already started talking about the issue that she wants the ones that are there to continue. In their report, the Ministerial Advisory Committee does include the issue of that the people that are this site, the people that are members of the advisory committee must carry on be the members of the work stream. Virginia was not happy about that. We discussed it with her, and we both agreed that it will be seen, if that happens, it will be seen as if these people that were in advisory committee are throwing javelin on the other side to find themselves work on the other side, and they become one and the same people that are doing the job. Then she said, this is my thinking, that we need to appoint a company. That company can appoint anybody to work with them. That's where the birth of the project management company came into effect. So you look at the submission of January, if I'm not mistaken, that submission says exactly what I'm just saying.
Can we go to the minister's bundle at page, I think, 57, and see if that's what you're referring to? Does Judge have it? It's a root. It's headed root form.
Is it Minister's list of documents, file 103 or which file?
Minister's bundle,
Page.
page 57.
Can I carry on, Judge?
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah.
Yes, you may.
Yeah. If you look at in that page 57, 58, and 59, I think let's go to where I signed on the 29th of the 1st. I wrote something that supported for the minister's approval for SASSA to start with the process of appointing a project management company to oversee the process of insourcing of payment system for SASSA. Comprehensive social security to be included in the process, minister to approve the final appointment. So that says that this was what Virginia wanted and I supported. Then it goes further that we look at the submission of September 17.
Sorry, before you go there, page 57, is that the minister's writing?
Yeah, this is minister's comments.
And she says, may I please be informed of at all levels of this process to give the... Are you able to decipher that? I know she read it, she tried to read it out herself, but something about embarrassment, to avoid the...
Oh, okay. May I please be informed at all levels of this process to avoid the Accountant General embarrassment.
Was that, you saw that note?
Unfortunately, I saw the note now on the pair. Unfortunately, when the submission comes back, it goes to the originator. It does not come to the people that it went through. So I wouldn't have seen that. Virginia would have seen that. But the minister here, to note, the minister did not sign. But she wrote in front here, she didn't sign not approved or noted or approved with amendments. Usually she would sign, like you'll see on the 17th April.
Then you were going to go to the September. In between that September, we know there's the, we don't need to go there, it's the 9th of July instruction that was given to Ms. Peterson in regard to the establishment of the appointment of the individuals to the work streams. Recall that?
Yes, I do recall that.
We don't need to go there, do we?
No, we don't have to go there. Safe to say that that was instruction, and you can tell that it is in between this submission of the 17th and the submission of the 29th. Is the company, project company first that was recommended by Virginia, then the letter comes in and say, this is what I want you to do. And if the judge will notice on that letter, Virginia did not, there's no attachment letter or anything that is instruction to Rapatli, except that Virginia decided to write on the letter itself with a ball pen, which is something that is not done within the government space. We don't write on top of this thing as an instruction. Minister can comment, but will sign at the end, like she's doing. Like I commented on the space where I'm supposed to put the remarks, you do that. But you don't write on this one. When it goes to the next person, you write it on the letter and you decide that this is what. And she says, implement the minister's instruction. That on its own came up, when you look into it together with the submission of the 17th of September, where those people that were recommended by the minister or instructed by the minister, this other side, appeared on this submission. We had discussed with Virginia. Remember, I advised her. I said, if the minister instructs you to do what she wants you to do, then we are covered. You can let it go. Let the minister carry on with it. It has been just like that because the minister did that. We passed this thing through as instructed by the minister to her, and she signed it. The first one in January, she never signed it. She didn't even say noted. She didn't even say not approved. They didn't say that with amendments. She just ignored that. But she made a mistake of commenting on it, that she saw it. Because that's the only thing that tells us that the minister saw the submission because she wrote in front of it. But as you can tell, at the back it says that concurrence or amendment, approval or not approved. That is written on all of them. And the minister wrote so many things on the submission. This submission is the one that gave birth to the appointment of the work streams after the minister is instructed.
And Virginia was in favor, you say, of a management company because of perceived conflicts of interest that would arise by members of the advisory committee getting appointed to directly as part of workstream leaders.
Yes, she was.
Now, the minister relies on the fact that you signed that September presentation or submission as an indication that you had given your approval to the workstream implementation process. Those particular, would you comment on that?
Yeah. In the government space, remember there's already a letter that says that the minister is instructed. And Virginia prepares the letter in favor of the letter, that submission in favor of the letter that the minister has written as an instruction. And it comes to me, it's not an approval. I think it should be read correctly. It says recommendation supported. Remember, there have been deliberations before. We had already discussed the issues, and the minister gave the instruction, so we implement the instruction. So I supported the issue that the minister has instructed, and we've given her what she wanted.
Right.
I did not approve it. I couldn't approve. I did not have power to approve anything.
Now, just returning to your affidavit, you say paragraph 16, I'm informed that the first time that SASSA executive management interacted with the work streams was in October 2016. We've gone through that. You say prior to the appointment and to date, the work stream leaders take instructions and report to the minister directly through Zodwa Mvelani. Is that as you saw the reporting process that the minister had put in place in regard to these work streams?
It has been like that up until I left.
And then you refer to the report dated 2 March 2016, referred to in this paragraph, was filed by the minister, possibly working together with the workstream leaders, and does not represent SASSA's position. Is that the issue you dealt with earlier on?
Can we repeat that? The report dated 2 March referred to in this paragraph filed by the minister, possibly working together with the workstream leaders, does not represent. Now, there was a report that the workstream have written, and the SASSA EXCO who had written another report, which these reports were not incongruent.
If you read paragraph 17, you elaborate a bit on there. That was done by Ms. Mzobe.
Yeah, it was Ms. Mzobe. I think yesterday even the judge was saying that people get sick. Ms. Mzobe is the one that when I got sick, became a CEO, then she got sick, then Mr. Makasela became the acting CEO for Friday. That one Friday before I came back from leave, which I came back on Monday. That Ms. Mzobe is that person.
When were you on sick leave? Do you recall?
I was on sick leave on or during the end of February up to the
28th, I think you returned.
Yeah, up to the 3rd. I went back to work on a Monday. I think it was the 13th of March, if I'm not mistaken.
And what was your view on the acting CEO signing the report, as opposed to you?
The one I think you are referring to will be referring to the affidavit of the 10 questions, because this one happened in my absentia by Mzobe. As I mentioned that I found it very strange that she would sign a report just because I was on sick leave for a week. It's something that I would have thought would have waited for me, or they would have brought it to me to look into it at home, and I would have signed it at the time. But be as it may, we leave it at that. But the one that I think you are referring to will be the affidavit, which the minister mentioned that I refused to sign. I'm not too sure whether I'll give a context on that.
Yes, we'll get to that. Then just to take you through some of the other documents that give some color to your affidavit. If you look at the Minister's Bundle, page 413, do you have it, Judge? I think
Yes,
Judge
I do.
has it. Do you have it?
I do.
Mr. Mfalani? Ms. Magwaza?
I do have it.
This is a minute of a meeting of the work stream held on 17 January 2017. That's obviously after your appointment when I say the appointment, after your confirmation by the minister. You were now the CEO, and were you You didn't attend this meeting. Were you invited to attend?
I don't know how to answer that one, Judge, but this is what I was talking about on the issue, that things were happening on the side without SASSA staff members involved. But it's possible that this was only workstream meeting. The only thing that is peculiar here is that the person who's chairing it is member of EXCO. Zodwa Mvulane.
Sorry, I don't understand the ultimate question. They asked you whether you are invited to attend the meeting.
No, we're not invited, not a single person at all. Because if we're invited and did not come, did not pitch up, it would appear that it's apology, or it's going to say that we're absent on the meeting if we're invited. We're not invited on that meeting.
Then,
Just ask something. Normally, within the structure of SASSA, how did Ms. Mvulane stand in relation to you? Was she not within SASSA?
She was within SASSA. She ought to have reported to me directly as an executive. All executives are reporting to the CEO, and she was a member of EXCO. She sat on the EXCO, but when it comes to these matters, she never reported anything to me.
But are you saying the normal course of events, she was supposed to be reporting to you?
She was supposed to be reporting to me.
As the CEO?
As the CEO, because she's next in line too, like the rest of other executives.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Judge. Then I wanted to take you to the SASSA bundle. Page 248. What is usual or usual? Does Judge have it? Do you have it, Mr. Magwaza?
Yes, I do.
This was a special EXCO meeting held at the Kibitz Kroon Country Club, 1920, April 2017. You attended that meeting, did you?
Yes, I did. I was chairing it.
And you chaired it. Could we just look at some aspects of the minutes? Page 254, would you just read the third paragraph starting with Ms. Mvulane?
Ms. Mvulane also advised the meeting that the work streams also submitted names to
sorry, Judge. It's page 248, and I'm at particularly page 254. Sorry, Judge, I didn't check if you had it. Apologies. Could you just read that again, commence reading that again, please?
Ms. Mvulane also advised that the meeting that the work streams also submitted names to the court. The view of the meeting was that this highlights the challenge of parallel process. Mr. Magwaza informed the meeting that he has written to the Minister raising his concern about the parallel process and has requested the meeting with the Minister to discuss the matter. He has, however, not received any response.
Is that a reference to your letter of the 4th of April?
Yes, that's the letter.
The Minister indicated that you'd written various letters to her when I cross-examined her on that letter. Are you aware of other letters that you would have written at this point in time to the Minister?
It will be the concurrence letter in December, maybe a concurrence letter somewhere in February, and then it will be the concurrence letter before I left for the post office.
And would that have been after this meeting?
That is after this meeting.
We don't seem to have those in the bundle. Then if we could just go to page 255, the last paragraph.
The reporting lines were corrected. Some of the work streams have been meeting the HR, has been meeting, but HR has never met. Hence, Ms. Ndlovu was recommended to lead the HR work stream's work. Ms. Mvulan?
Who was talking there about the reporting lines were corrected?
I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure. Maybe.
All right, if you're not sure, you're not sure. Just don't speculate. If you can't recall, then carry on.
Ms. Mvulan was of the view that as much as SASSA executives may want to play blame game, SASSA must also take a portion of the blame because the change program has never been taken seriously within SASSA itself.
Would you comment on that view of Ms. Mvulan?
No, this was disputed by most of the members there.
And so she was asserting a position that didn't accord with how EXCO saw it.
I think she was saying what, I think the context here was the issue that Ms. Mvulan is still carrying on having meetings on the side with Workstream without members of the EXCO. So members of the EXCO were still complaining and saying the status quo still remains.
And then over the page, you'd read that.
The relationship between the minister and the CEO is not improving. Mr. Magwaza explained at length his various efforts in trying to resolve the relationship with the minister and even through the mediation of very prominent persons.
And then in the next paragraph?
In closing the item, Mr. Magwaza explained to the meeting that he has put together a team of selected experts to develop a framework for the way forward of change program. He also asked them to workshop such way forward, incorporating a report of work streams. The work of the task team, the work of that task team is not conclusive, hence it has been brought through EXCO for inputs by EXCO members for collective ownership.
Were you able to implement your processes before your employment was mutually terminated?
No, we couldn't do any one of those things that we were trying to do.
Now, the minister, if we could just see, look at her affidavit.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Mr. Solomon.
Thank you, Judge. We were dealing with paragraph 52.
Sorry, paragraph what? You know, sometimes I don't hear you. You tend to
sorry,
look
I'm
that
sorry,
way
Judge.
all the time.
I'm sorry,
And-
Judge.
Yes.
Paragraph 52, page 579, Judge. Now, we know you attended a meeting on the 24th of October 2016. This is the period from the time that you had been appointed by Cabinet and before your official appointment. She says you attended EXCO meetings, plural. Is that correct?
It's not true. I attended a meeting on the 24th.
Then she refers to BD4A, which is attached to her affidavit, which is a letter she addressed to Miss Peterson in December. Do you have it? I'll give you the page number. 677. It's attached to her affidavit as page 67. Why 692? I think it's in a difference in two places. This is a different one. Does Judge have it? Just read the letter to yourself, but I want you to concentrate on the second last paragraph, penultimate paragraph, the second sentence. Furthermore, during his transitionary period, the department needs to play a stronger supervisory role. Therefore, all decisions taken henceforth need to be ratified by the Acting Director General, yourself, Thokozani Magwaza, until such time that a new CEO is appointed. Were you aware of this at all?
Yes, I was.
Would you tell the inquiry what you know of this letter? And
This letter came about in the meeting between myself, Mr. Shezi, Mr. Dango, and the minister. I remember that Mr. Dango raised the issue of this process. And at that time, it was ascertained that the minister had already decided that Ms. Virginia Peterson's contract is not going to be renewed. Based on that, Mr. Dango felt that it might be a good idea to have this kind of a process. And then it was, I think it was implemented because the minister wrote this letter to Virginia, and it carried on that way.
And was there a process in place that you would have to, even though you weren't at SASSA, you had to ratify decisions?
In this instance, that not much ratification happened on this time. What happened mostly was the issue of transferring executives from one office to another office. And we had to go right around the country, myself and her. I was taking along her when she was talking to the executives about the transferring of those executives from one place to another. There's not much that has taken place for me to sign anything on the ratification for anything she was doing.
We know that Ms. Ramagopa was appointed as an acting CEO. When did that happen?
On the day that I think Virginia was leaving, 15 May 2016.
During this period of time, was there any decisions that you were required to ratify in regard to the migration, the insourcing of the
No, there was nothing much, there was nothing on the migration. I don't think there would have been anything that I would have ratified there because there was a process that we were following. The things that were given to me mostly were things like there was a contract of the security that was supposed to be signed. There was then there was a discussion about the issue of work streams, where I had the meeting with the CFO and the CEO in here in Rosebank, where they were telling me that they've just received a letter from, or they received a letter from National Treasury saying that the process that was followed in acquiring work streams was irregular. That was the initial letter. Now, I did ask them. Remember that Virginia had already appointed them sometimes a year before. So what was left was the signing of consultancy agreement. So I said to them, I said it will be in your interest.
Who's the them?
CFO and the CEO, acting CEO. I said it will be in your interest not to do anything on this thing until the National Treasury clears it, or you clear this thing with National Treasury, right? Then,
why did you feel that had to happen?
You can't ignore National Treasury. When National Treasury on the procurement issues starts raising something, then you need to act onto it, especially the accounting officer. If the accounting officer does not hit to that, National Treasury can report the accounting officer, and maybe financial misconduct may be ensued towards that person. But moreover than that, there was a letter that I think the Minister of Finance had written to the Minister of Correctional Services, Mr. Masuta, and we saw it on papers. I read it about on papers, and I asked them to investigate it. And that letter was talking about the issue of certain people that need to be blacklisted in the government for whatever, not following the procurement process. And I said to him, please investigate this, because one of the members of the work streams was mentioned onto the letter. I said, that's the first thing that you need to do. Secondly, I asked them, did you follow the process in acquiring these people, getting these people? Then they started telling the story that no, there was issue of deviation. And I asked, was a deviation signed? They said, no, the deviation was not signed. I said, oh, the deviation has not been sent. I said, but it's few months down the line. How on earth can that happen, that you have already got people in and you have not signed, we've got the approval from National Treasury. Then I said to them, since you say that you have not gone the tender way, and the letter is talking about the tender, send the deviation to National Treasury and wait for National Treasury to confirm whether they agree with you or don't agree with you. We agreed, when we left the meeting, it was agreed that they were going to do that, which I think they did send the documents to National Treasury. But National Treasury never came back and approved with approval of that.
They didn't take heed of your advice because
no,
they went
didn't.
unappointed.
Yeah, they didn't. No. Remember, the Austrians have already been appointed at the time. They've been awarded with letters that they are getting the job. But what was left was the consultancy agreement. And I said to them, this is a window for you to rectify whatever that you might have done wrong before, because National Treasury is giving you a space that these people cannot be able to attack you, because we are just going to say that National Treasury said this is not right, it's not done the correct way. So you can't be attacked. So what happened is that one of the events, the minister says to me, I hear that we are refusing to let the agreement sign for these people to come in. Then I said, Ma, that's not true. First of all, you know for a fact, I do not have powers to do that. I'm not the acting CEO. The acting CEO has got all the powers. The issue of that, I'm supposed to be working closely with Mr. Ramkhuba holds no water, because the PFMA says that the person who's acting has got the powers exactly as the powers of the CEO. So I cannot be able to overrule anybody. I advised I told her this is what is supposed to happen, so that we don't find ourselves or anything that puts you into trouble about the issue of getting the work streams in. And I reminded her, I said, remember that you are the one that was said they must be appointed. So if this goes on, this was said, no, they must be appointed. I said, that is between you and the acting CEO. I don't feature anywhere. The next thing that I saw is that they've been appointed. So they didn't take my advice.
And you say you think they wrote, and it would seem you're correct. If you go to page 890 of the Black Sash bundle, perhaps don't close the minister's statement affidavit file just yet, Judge, if I could suggest, with respect. Does Judge have it? Do you have it, Mr. Magwaza?
Yes, I do.
Before you proceed, you must tell me when it's convenient to adjourn for.
I'll do
For the
so.
break.
I'll just deal with your leave, Judge, and under your guidance, just with this letter, and then we can adjourn. This is a letter that was addressed to you. We know that the minister was cross-examined on the letter. It's dated 5 May 2017, and I think there was focus on paragraph 7 of the letter during cross-examination, but perhaps you can focus on paragraph 10, which says that the non-compliance raised above all contracts concluded should be regarded as irregular. But it also refers to a National Treasury letter dated 15 June 2016, the previous year, and your letter dated 24 June 2016 have reference. Would that have been the letters that had perhaps dealt with the request for the deviation?
I wouldn't know the 15th June and the 24th 24 June 2016, that my assumption would be that letter that National Treasury was complaining about on the not following the procurement processes is the one on the 2016. The 24th one, I think, would be the one where I advised that carry on and send to the and ask for deviation. I think that would be the one on the 26th. It's an assumption because I do not know and I've not seen them.
All right. And then you were referencing a letter, or not a letter, but you were referencing the instruction to Ms. Ramakgopa. It's referred to in the minister's affidavit. It's the next paragraph, paragraph 53. It's BD5 at 678 of the minister, an attachment to the minister's affidavit. That's the 23rd of May 2016, from the minister to Ms. Ramakgopa, and in the second paragraph, last sentence, all major decisions, financial and otherwise, concerning the agency must be ratified by the acting Director General yourself. Had you seen this letter before?
I was told about this letter about Ms. Ramakgopa. This letter, then she said she received the letter from the Chief of Staff, and this letter was saying what it is being said there. Then she showed me that letter at that particular time. That this is the letter I'm talking about. Then I'm not too sure whether I say I saw it. I saw it.
And what you said, what was your reaction to?
My reaction, I went to the chief of staff. I said, this is not right. We're not supposed to have written this letter and made the minister or asked the minister to do this thing, because this is different. This situation is different from the situation of Virginia Peterson. Virginia Peterson was living, and Ms. Ramkhopa is an executive that does not put any resolution or is not going anywhere. It's a common cause that when our people are asked to act in the department, because I've acted several times as an acting DG, even when I was a DDG, you get the letter and you get all the powers that are vested onto the position. I said, this is not right. I cannot be expected that I need to be doing this, because I cannot hold two positions, because this in a way made Ms. Ramkhopa a lame CEO. When I even said to her, I said, this Ramkhopa cannot hold order. Don't think that we'll ever use this letter anywhere, because any decision that is taken and is taken under your guide, you are responsible and you are going to be taken to court. And I said exactly that. And hence the issue of me even saying on the day of saying that the issue of deviation you need to deal with, and you deal with it properly, because it's you that is going to be held liable for it. And I did. And the chief of staff says to me, Mr. Magwaza, nothing is going to happen. And I said, no, this thing is going to come back and bite us one day. I don't want to carry on with this thing. Then the minister came, and the minister says that, Mr. Magwaza, I don't see any problem for you to do this, and I'm instructing you to do this. I said, okay, minister, you say that it's not a problem. I carried on. But there's nothing much that was done, except, as I'm saying, that the security contract that I remember that came, and other issues. But there's nothing of significant that took place.
Nothing to do with the migration, the
No,
insourcing?
Really nothing to do with migration, because the only thing of migration that I got to know was on the 24th of October.
Yes. Would this be a convenient time?
Yes, it shall be. We'll adjourn for the next 15 minutes. We'll come back at 25 minutes past the hour.
Look what my family says.
I want to be the president, but I'm not.
They are watching it. They say, yeah, well, look and see. Hey, you must be good, right?
You are still under oath, Mr. Magwaza.
Thank you, Judge. If you, just on, further on this question of the deviation, at page 985, if you would go to, of this Black Sash bundle, there was further correspondence between you and National Treasury. There's a letter dated 25 May 2017. Does Judge have it? Do you have it, Mr. Magwaza?
I do.
And they deal with the argument advanced by SASSA. Page 986, para 10, argues that the deviation was not only based on urgent, but also on continuity, dedicated capacity, and to comply with the Constitutional Court deadline. And the author of this, Satisha Tangana, says the reason for continuity is not justified because the advisors were not initially appointed through SCM process and were not going to continue rendering advisory roles. And the continuation's reason is not applicable. And he goes on to say in 13, SASSA indicates that the recommendation of BAC was approved by CEO on 5 May 2016. They became aware of this instruction note on 12 May 2016. SASSA's argument is not correct. Instruction note was sent to SASSA on 22 April 2017 as per the attached email. So National Treasury were firm in their view that the appointments were unlawful. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Now, the Minister gave the impression, I'm not quoting her verbatim so that I don't offend my learned and good friend for the Minister, but Mr. Semenya, but she gave the impression, at least to me, that you had an axe to grind, I mean, these are my words, in regard to the appointment of the workstream leaders. That you came with a preconceived idea that was negative towards the appointment. Would you comment on that?
No, I can say that I did hear the Minister saying that he heard from Mr. Van Vreede. I told Mr. Van Vreede that when I get to SASSA, I'm going to fire the work stream. That is totally not true. I never had anything against the issue on the appointment of work stream, except, or safe to say, on the discussion that we had with Virginia on the issue of the management company vis-a-vis the individuals. So the work streams per se was not a problem. The problem would have been that you move from people from the advisory committee to the other side, because we thought of the issue of conflict of interest. That's the only thing that I had with as a gripe. But otherwise, I never had anything with the work stream. And if you're reading the minutes of the 24th, I commended the work that they've done, that they had done as far as the day that was there, except that on the issue of parallel process and them not involving the people. So I never had any problem with the issue of the work stream. And this letter, and this come from Mr. Chitangano, came about when we discussed and deliberated. Myself, the guys from finance, Dumisile Ndlovu's on the acting executive on the corporate services, that National Treasury might have erred in the way that they were looking at the issues of appointment of the work stream. Though I did mention to my guys, to them, say, you see, the problem that we're going to find ourselves wanting with on this issue is the issue of the gap. I think it was canvassed in detail yesterday and the day before yesterday on the issue of emergence, that you can't talk about emergency here when they took a year or more than a year or just less than a year for the workstream to be called, to be put in. And the issue of deviation was a problem because I did speak about it when I was saying to them, I said, you guys, I asked the CFO and the CEO at the time when we were discussing about the issue of the letter that initially came from that side. And I said to them, you need to come up with a good story with National Treasury of say why we did the things that we have done as SASSA and all those kind of things. That to prove the point that I had no gripe against the workstream, I wouldn't have signed the letter and sent it to Treasury for the second time onto the scene. And even when this came, I went to the minister. And the minister said that you're not talking about it. I went to the minister about this thing. I said, Ma, there's a letter now that has come from Treasury. There were questions that were coming by in Portfolio Committee. There were questions that were coming by from SCOPA who were asking about the issues about the issue of workstream, about the money, because it was a topical issue that was in all papers. And I said to her, they've given her the second letter. Now I have exhausted, from the accounting officer point of view, I've exhausted all the avenues that will try to save the work streams. It's me saying that. Then I said, what is left now for you, Minister, to let? I think it might be a political issue. If there is anything that you can be able to do this, talk to the Minister of Finance, Malusi Kigaba. Then he can talk to the procurement people and do this thing. I knew that was not going to happen because there's no way that there will be interference on the issues of the procurement and all those kind of things. And I said to her, I said, if nothing happens, it was on the 28th, I said by the 30th, I'm going to start writing letters. I'm writing letters to these people to terminate their contracts. Luckily, some of them, the contracts were coming to an end. Some like Team Sugazi Incorporate, they had already exhausted their budget. So I just gave them the letters of terminating them, and I terminated them just like that. Then there was an issue now on the report side of the work streams. And I mentioned
Mr.
that
Magwaza, are you not going way beyond the limits of the question?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Magwaza, we can just move on from that point. Just to tell the inquiry, who had originally appointed these individuals to the Ministerial Advisory Committee?
Ministerial Advisory Committee or Workstream. Always, I've been hearing that they've been used, Workstream and Advisory Committee, interchangeably yesterday. The Advisory Committee is the minister that appointed them.
Now, if I could just take you back to the affidavit of the minister that she filed in the Constitutional Court, page 579. We were dealing with paragraph 52 and 53. Do you have it, Mr. McGrath?
I do.
She says in the penultimate sentence of paragraph 53, therefore, although Mr. Magwaza officially took office in November 2016, he was already intricately involved in the workings of SASSA from about May 2016 and was previously the Deputy Director General for Comprehensive Social Security in the department. And then the last sentence, in this portfolio, Mr. Magwaza was responsible for formulating policy that would shape how SASSA would implement its mandate. Would you comment on those two sentences?
I'm not too sure the context why Minister was saying that maybe because of the letter that was written that I'm supposed to get involved. But
yes, yeah. She's talking about Annexure BD5, the letter that we looked at earlier on.
My involvement from May to the time I was appointed was never operational. I've never been involved in the operational issues of SASSA. That safe to say about the meeting that took place on the 24th. And she's correct when she said on formulation of the policy that would shape how SASSA would implement. No. It doesn't talk to the policy that we deal with is on the legislative side, not on the implementation. this sentence of implementing the mandate, I was never involved in that.
And I think she conceded, again, the record will speak for itself, that she was responsible for formulating policy and shaping SASSA, and to ensure it implemented its mandate. Is that how she saw her role vis-a-vis SASSA, the minister?
Can you repeat that? Because there's this...
Just a minute. You asked him to repeat. Just repeat.
Yes, if I could repeat it. The minister, I think, in her evidence conceded that it was her who was charged with the responsibility of shaping how SASSA would implement its mandate. That's how she saw her role, reference to the various sections in the Act.
Yeah, she might be right that because the SASSA is reporting directly to her.
But you don't agree with this statement that you were responsible for formulating policy that would shape how SASSA would implement its mandate?
No, not implementing its mandate. If this is on the operational or day-to-day running of carrying on with their mandate, it's not true. It was more on the legislative, on type of grants that are supposed to be given. If anything needs to be done as a reform in the country on the issue of SASSA, that was the work of the Comprehensive Social Security. And
once you were appointed, there was a tension between you and her as to how you saw your role as the accounting officer in your position as CEO and as she saw your role. Is that right? And that's addressed in your letter of the 4th of April.
It is right.
Then, just finally from her affidavit, over the page 581, paragraph 57, she says, the effect of the change in leadership at SASSA and the fact that Mr. Magwaza failed to engage comprehensively with me during this critical time, in my view, contributed to delays in implementation of certain critical decisions, such as the filing of the report to this court as set out in paragraphs 39, 40, and 41. Would you comment on that?
It's not true.
Did you engage with her from the time that you were appointed as the CEO?
I engage her regularly. As I said, that I've been traveling with the minister almost all over the country.
Now, if we could just move on, with your leave, Judge, to the next category, and that's the meeting of the 12th December. You deal with that, page 705 of your affidavit and following. And what you were dealing with there was paragraph 39 of the minister's affidavit, where she stated that she had a telephone conference with you during which she impressed upon you the urgency of reporting to the court that SASSA will not be able to implement a system to pay social grants itself. Would you deal with what happened over the 8th, 9th, 10th of December? Do you confirm that there's a typographical error where on this page there's reference to the 12th of October? That should be the 12th of December.
Yes, there's a typo.
And then there's various references to the month of April. That should also be December.
Yeah, still typos there.
If you could just deal with what happened in December between the 8th and the 12th.
I've just mentioned on the issue that I traveled with the minister all over the country. And then this is another instance where I was traveling with the minister. We went to Bloemfontein for an event, and on, like it's written there on 224.2, the minister had a Women's League event in Qwaqwa, which she went to, and I was left behind because I carried on with my day-to-day, my work for the submissions. Then on Sunday, we traveled together to Eastern Cape, which I think is the 10th. Then on Monday, we were supposed to go to close the camp at the army base in Kimberley. The following day, which is the 12th, we were going to go to Kuruman. So we went to Bloemfontein. That happened. Then she went to Glen. Then on Sunday, we had the event. After the event, I was saying that our usual meetings or usual discussions, I sat with the meeting minister there from 5 o'clock until 8:30, discussing various issues. There are even some things on political issues that we're discussing with her, and some of the things that we're discussing that pertaining to what she wanted to find out from me. Then we left at 8:30. We still had to drive to Bloemfontein, which is 3 hours from the town, Stakespruit, to there. We arrived more or less the same time, because when I was parking my car, the protectors were parking her car. We walked together to the hotel. Now, the following day in the morning, around about 8:30, 8:45, Mr. Mvulane calls, say, Mr. Magwaza, the minister would like you to be available on the phone because there is a meeting that she has arranged that you need to be part of. Oh, no. I asked her, what meeting are you talking about? She said, no, it's constitutional matters, constitutional court matters. And who arranged that meeting? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm supposed to be calling these meetings as a CEO. She says, no, the minister did. Then when she said, oh, minister, then I said, okay, I will be available. So when we left, he said around about 12. We left Bloemfontein around about 11:30, and I asked the chief of staff, I said, I would like you to be part and parcel of this meeting. Let's get into my car. We asked Maibuye, the private secretary to the minister at the time, to drive the car and follow us. So we followed each other from Bloemfontein to Kimberley. There was no call until 20 past 1. No, 20 past 12, 12:30, when we were driving into the building at the Lohatla in Kimberley, the army base. The call came from Zodwa, and we were on speakerphone, and the chief of staff was sitting next to me. Then I was told that the minister, she says that, Mr. Magwaza, we are having this meeting, and all the things that they were saying, discussing. Then I said, no, okay, I'm okay. We can listen. I'm in the right spot, and I cannot be disturbed. Then the meeting started carrying on, and on and on and on. There was a lady who was speaking on the other side, because I did not know. Nobody introduced me to who was in the meeting on the other side. I just joined at the time through Mr. Mvulane's phone. Then the person who was talking on the other side talked like a lawyer, because it was legalistic, the way she was talking. She carried on and on and on and on and on. Then the minister says, Mr. Magwaza, are you with us? Then I say, Minister, I am with you. Do you have any comment so far? I said, Minister, I don't think that I'll be able to comment right now. Can you give me time to play a catch-up? Because I can see that the meeting started earlier, and the things that are being discussed there, it seems as if they've been pre-discussed, because the way that she's talking, it talks as if these things have been like what we discussed on, Then I said, no, I'll comment when I've learned. Then I made a joke. I said, I'm a good catch-up. I'm going to catch up very quickly. Then carried on. Then the person finished speaking. Then the minister asked Mr. Dango to comment. Then Mr. Dango commented, and he started mentioning the issues of Trent Grove, Kasim, and all those legal opinions that were there. And he was saying that we need to be implementing this and going forward. But we are having this technical committee that is taking place that information needs to be included when we go to court. Then the minister picked only one thing, on what Mr. Dango had said on the issue that we have to write to the Constitutional Court, and not now picking up on the issue of the issue of the unit, that technical unit, government technical unit, that is supposed to be included, the information supposed to be included on the report, on the whatever that you're supposed to write to the Constitutional Court. Then the minister said, Mr. Magwaza, do you have anything to say? This is what I said to her, verbatim. I said, Minister, I'm not too sure. This is how I started. I'm not too sure that you're supposed to be in this meeting. And she said, why are you saying that? I said, Minister, because there might be decisions that might be taken here that we may want to come to you for your guidance on. But if you are in the meeting, and whatever decisions that are taken in this meeting, you may find yourself wanting, and we are going to be in trouble because we may not be able to protect you. These are my words to her. But be as it may, because the meeting is already started, and these are my comments. One thing, Judge, I forgot to mention is that in the car, when I was saying that the minister doesn't, the chief of staff says, why is the minister doing this? She went to Johannesburg, but she said she was going for a press conference. There was a Women's League press conference that she was going for. Now, why now is this meeting? I said, I do not know. Then he says to me, is it possible there is a letter that came from Serge Bellamant, from CPS. And that letter was giving us, then he said, do you have it? And I said, I don't have it. Then he picks up the phone and he says to somebody, please send, I think it's Mabui or somebody from the office, in the minister's office, please send Mr. Magwaza the letter from Serge. She did. And I was reading this letter in the car because we swapped. I said I wanted to read the letter. I said, let's swap driving. Then she started, he carried on driving, and I read the letter. The letter was giving us an ultimatum, saying that if we do not sign the contract, the new contract with CPS by the 19th of December, they will start folding down. So when I was talking on to the minister on this, I already have this issue about this letter of Serge Bellamant. So the minister was saying that then we need to write to Constitutional Court and do all those. And I said, Minister, I don't think that this is the right thing to do. And I said to them, I said, as a CEO, I don't think this is the right time for us to be going to Constitutional Court right now. We've got this technical committee that is looking at the options that are there for us to be able to implement going forward about the 1st of April. That's the first thing. Secondly, and I said, Minister, I cannot, as a CEO, I even mentioned as a CEO, I cannot be held ransom by the service provider that is obliged to be with SASSA or with me until the 31st of April. He cannot give me ultimatum and say to me that, Mr. Magwaza, by the 19th, if you don't sign, this is what is going to happen. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not prepared to do that. Moreover, Minister, I think the court is in recess. That's how I said it. It's in recess. Now, if we rush this thing, whom are we going to give this report to? Because it means that it's going to wait for the judges to come by January or whatever time that they come back. That's the only time. So why not that we wait and do all these things that we have said to do with the technical team, Treasury, Reserve Bank, myself, and Zain Tango on the DSD side. Then the minister says, Mr. Magwaza, we have to write this thing and it needs to be written now. Then I said, now if any one of you that side have got the power to sign that document, I cannot stop you. Exact words. If you have any one of you that side have got power to sign that report, I don't have a problem, you can sign it. Then he said, Mr. Magwaza, I want to refer you to to SASSA Act. The minister has got the right to instruct anybody to do anything. I said, Minister, in this case, I don't think that I will oblige and sign something that I'm not ready to sign. And I'm saying to you, SASSA has not done what they are supposed to have done all this time. What is the problem for us to wait just 2-3 weeks, Minister, and go to the to Constitutional Court with something that says that we have had, and this is what we are going to do? I think the court will be lenient to us and doing 1, 2, 3. Then the minister says that, Magwaza must refer to your letter of appointment. I said, Minister, now we are playing on the spot that you are not supposed to play. And I said to Zain, because Zain was on the meeting the other side, I said, in the absence of the president, Zain, as a DG, please protect me. Because nobody can protect me. The minister is threatening me now about the issue of saying that is referring me to my letter of appointment. I said, letter of appointment does not do anything onto this thing. There's nothing that will go wrong if we wait until we write, we finalize the issues of the team, technical team. Then we go to court and we go with that. That's what that meeting was all about. But one thing that I want to mention, Judge, that is not right, which I didn't feel comfortable with. The minister was with me in Stegspruit until 8:30. Minister knew that she was going to go to Johannesburg the following morning. Why didn't she speak to me about that issue of that meeting? And for me to go with her to Johannesburg. Usually, I get into her car. If there is a rush, I get into that car with protectors, blue lights, and I travel with her if there's an urgent matter that wants something. In this case, why did she not take me with her to the meeting?
Well, she has already testified.
Okay.
We can't ask her now.
Yeah.
She has. And then
You have made your point.
just continuing with your statement, you deal with what you did. I'm just going to refer you to it. You can just confirm it for the sake of brevity. The merits and demerits of approaching the court were thoroughly analyzed. And then you say in paragraph 26, the steps you took to engage with National Treasury, DSD, the SA Reserve Bank, and over the page, you spoke about the use of local banks. Then you go to paragraph 28. And if you just read that and say why you say that.
In retrospect, it was the minister who was determined that an internal solution will not be found. It then transpired that the minister was against the utilization of local banks and post office.
And why do you say that?
I say that because on the discussion, this discussion that we had on the issue of the post office, she did mention that she doesn't think that they've got capacity to do the job. And on the issue of the local banks are not, I don't know how to put it. There were issues, there were stories on around the local, on the banks in South Africa at the time that was a negative publicity. She said that these are the people that we cannot work with. And she said to me, you need to find something that is not right so that we don't go with these people. That's what she said to me. And I said, let me finish. And I said to her, Minister, I don't think that it would be possible for me to be able to do that. I just cannot be able to do that because I'm not a banker. I would not be able to look for anything on the bank that I can find that will be negative for me to do on this certain thing. And on top of that, there's a technical team that is doing the issues that is doing, and it's them. Reserve Bank is part of it. There's National Treasury. Those people are prone that we have to use the banks. And they've got reasons why they say we need to use this bank, which I agree with.
Then paragraph 29, you say, I utilized December 2016, January to familiarize myself with legal opinions that had been obtained, and to date, I have difficulty understanding why the minister was adamant that CPS be used. I should point out that the Trengrove SC opinion was procured by the work streams and not by SASSA. Where did you get the impression from that the minister was adamant that CPS be used?
We discussed the issue of CPS at length with the minister when I was became the CEO, and it was of opinion that we need to extend. Initially, we need to extend the term of CPS. There was the issue of, I think it was 24 months, and 3 years that she had mentioned that we need to look into it. Then I said, Minister, I received because when I arrived in November, I had one-on-one with all the executive, including the legal division and the guys on communication. Then I asked, when I was talking to them, I said, have you seen the legal opinion that was sought by SASSA and the work streams? I said, no, I've not. She went to her office, she came back, and she came up with 2 of those legal opinions, highlighted certain things on the legal opinion. One of the things that was there on the legal opinion from Trent Group and from Kasim was the issue of the constitutional court, that you guys cannot be able to carry on, I mean, to take over on the 1st of April. We need to go to court on all those things that they mentioned there. I think they've been mentioned very well now articulated in the evidence that the minister was giving it. And then the other thing that on one of, I think it's Skakane, we sought on Skakane after that. And Skakane came back and said that we asked him about the issue of how can we be able to do the government to government without the procurement, without following the normal procurement. So he came back, he said it's possible, we can be able to utilize 16.6A, can utilize so many clauses that he mentioned that you can be able to do. And in that, then he mentioned the same thing, that you cannot extend the illegal contract, right? Right? Then we had so many discussions with the issue of options with the technical committee. And when we met with the technical committee, the mandate that we gave them was that you guys need to help us for the issue of the 1st of April. You need to look at all avenues that may give us something that will make us pay on the 1st of April. If it's something that is not going to give us the 1st of April, please defer it. We'll look into it after the 1st of April. So there were some 6 options that they came up with. But the ones that were like doable, there were only 2, because all others were giving us after the 6th of April. The second from the top was Greenrod, whom Greenrod was, because of them having almost all the accounts, they could just walk in and be able to do what is supposed to be done. The first one was the issue of CPS. That CPS is the only one that will give us the 1st of April, and we won't have issues because they are already riding. They're on top of the horse and they're already riding. Then we discussed it at length. National Treasury was totally against this, but they said we have no choice because this is what is supposed to be done for us not to get into trouble about the issue of the 1st of April, not to pay, then we have to go with the issue of 1st of April. Now, on the issue of Greenrod, Zain was mostly the one, the proponent. So GST was proponent on the issue of the Greenrod because of the account numbers they explained. Then I said to them, I said, the gripe that I will have is a good idea because we are going to get rid of CPS like the court has given us or instructed us. But the problem with the issue of Greenrod is that Greenrod is using the same IT platform which belongs to CPS, and the source code is with CPS. Now I said to them, I said, the problem that we are going to have, Greenrod is going to charge us money, or CPS is going to charge Greenrod. Then Greenrod is going to do a markup and come to us and charge us. We are going to end up paying so much money more than what we are paying right now. My take is that we'd rather go with the devil that we know, and we go to court and plead with court to help us with the issues of doing this. It was even before the issue of Black Sash going in, or with the issue of asking the court to extend CPS. So the first thing that I had to do was to tell the minister, and I told her, I said, Minister, this is what we have done. And Zain did it formally on the other side because it's him that is working with the minister. So he wrote for the minister, tell the minister, these are things that they think that they're going to do, that this is the one option that we are going with. Then I went to Portfolio Committee. That's when the issue of 12 months came into effect. I mentioned the 12 months, and I said to them, this is the only devil that we have that will make us not to be embarrassed politically and embarrassed with the nation on that we are not going to be able to pay on the 1st of April. Now, when we discuss the issue of the affidavit, I'm going to tell why then I wrote the affidavit the way that I wrote it and why we discussed it the way we discussed it.
All right. Then paragraph 30, I'm not going to read it out. It says that the minister states she engaged with SASSA on possible options and interim arrangements, and you say you wish to clarify that there's no record of the minister engaging with SASSA to consider available options and solutions. Is that correct?
No, this is correct. Not unless she meant meeting with Zotam Vulan and the work streams. If she meant that, then it's okay. But as EXCO and the chairperson.
Yeah. Fine. It's fine. Everybody available?
Friday 9 March.
How's that ish? Friday 9th March? Richard, Friday 9th March? Vincent?
Sorry. They proposed 9 of March. Argument.
And what about Mrs. Yacob?
Are we more or less agreeing on the 9th? To be comfortable with? Oh, okay. The only problem would arise if somehow we manage not to finish with Mr. Magwaza and Mr. Dango on Friday. Then there will be a big problem if we manage not to finish. I say manage not to finish because I'm of the view that we must, even if it takes us into the evening. Otherwise, it will complicate things. All right, then.
If it depended on me, Judge, I can give a word of comfort that we will finish on Friday.
No, sorry. Before the 9th. Second March, please. Yes. Thank you very much. So the heads would then be 2nd March. Very well then. Thank you, Mr. Magwaza. You are excused. We will see you next week, Friday, 9 o'clock. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are adjourned.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know, my diary is terrible. I can't make it right on. To show you how
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a Audi car key if somebody lost a car. Car key, or, yeah.
All right, practicality is really going on.